Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, the 2023 film. And we're specifically going to talk about the concept, the idea that this film is actually an incredibly brilliant source of wisdom. All right? Now, wait, Scott, that's not a source of wisdom. That's just some silly little popcorn movie that was made. You don't search for wisdom in an American popcorn movie. Seal your flapping maw, fool. You don't know what you're talking about. All right? Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is grown from the life tree that is Gary Gygax's legacy. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, its specific ingredient is Dungeons and Dragons. It's literally made of Dungeons and Dragons. Anything made of Dungeons and Dragons comes from Gary's legacy, and it is specifically there so that we actually can learn from it, and so that we can learn from the wisdom of Gary. That is the entire point, right? It's really critically important, right? So I've said this, right, but I need to prove it to you, right? So I'm going to go movie by movie each time I've watched Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves and tell you the important, powerful, useful life lesson that I took away from Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves and how it made my life better for listening. All right? So let's get into it. What did I learn from Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, specifically that, is life-changing wisdom, right? Well, when I watched the movie for the 5th time, I watched it on MGM Plus, and it struck me, and the movie starts, and here we are at Revel's End. Revel's End is a panopticon prison in Icewind Dale, which is in the Forgotten Realms, right? And we focus on Holga Kilgore. Holga Kilgore is an adventurer, right? And she's an adventurer. So I know she's an adventurer, right? I know this because on Dungeons and Dragons Beyond, before the movie even came out, they actually said, hey, Holga Kilgore is an adventurer. Here's all about her, right? You can learn all about her, right? So I know she's an adventurer, right? So what do you get if you're an adventurer? You know what you get? You get to sit in an icy prison with your friend. That's what you get, right? Because one of the things is when you do adventures, you're going to take incredible risks, right? And you take incredible risks. You take incredible risks. And you're going to have to pay the consequences when those risks don't pay off, right? They tried to rob from a Harper's Keep, right? And so they were put into prison, right? And so, but what's really interesting is from that first scene, and then Holga waits for a half-orc in a prison, a third person in her cell, to come up and caress her face. She doesn't take action until that half-orc puts his hand on her face. And when she does, she kicks at both his knees, breaks both of his knees, ensuring he will probably never walk the same again, and then takes his head and slams it into the stone slams it into a stone so hard that he either has a concussion, is in a coma, or maybe dead. So what do we learn from the first 5 minutes of this movie? First of all, you are an adventurer or you are an entity, right? You are who the camera faces, which is Holga Kilgore. The camera is on her at all times. If you are an adventurer in life, this world will focus on you because you're willing to take risks, right? But don't get it twisted. You're going to take those risks, and when they don't work out, you're going to pay the consequences with the people you chose to be with when you were adventuring, even if that means going to prison, all right? But it also means that you get the glory and you get the suck, right? You get the glory and you get the suck, right? You get the glory and you get the gruel. Literally, you have the glory or gruel, right? GG, right? Glory or gruel. You're an adventurer, you get the gold or you get the gruel, right? And the camera is on you, right? So Holga Kilgore is a player character, right? And the half-orc is a non-player character, simply an entity. I use the term entity when I run Dungeons & Dragons for everybody that the Dungeon Master controls. but the player. So in your life, you get to choose. Is the camera going to be on you at all times because you're willing to take risks and because you're willing to take the gold or the gruel? You're willing to pay the consequences? Or are you going to be the entity, right? Are you going to be the guard who was seen for a minute and did what was expected of him and really didn't take many risks, right? And gets to go home and gets meat and mutton, but they don't get gold or, the guard at Revel's End, he's just an entity. We see him for 3 seconds. Right? And he gets to go home to meat and mutton. He's never going to get the gold, and he's never going to have to eat gruel, right? So we choose. Are we a character or entity? Is the camera on us at all times? Are we willing to take the risks, and are we willing to get the gold when it works out, or are we willing to eat the gruel when it doesn't, in prison with our friends, right? That is the issue. Are you going to build a life that's safe, that's riskless, and become an entity, or are you going to become an adventurer? This is communicated in the first 5 minutes of this incredibly deep, profound, wisdom-filled film. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is a brimming cup of wisdom with life lessons that we can live by. We can choose to shape our lives based on the wisdom in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Why? Because Daly and Goldstein are geniuses? A little bit. Much more importantly, because Gary Gygax, because this is fruit from the tree of Gary Gygax's legacy. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.